I'm the Greater Boston Site Director of Generation Citizen. We are an action civics nonprofit, so we aim to bring civics back into schools and make it action-oriented. I'll talk about that in a minute. And I think these guys have really set up how technology, how stakeholder engagement, how infrastructure can really drive civic innovation. And I want to talk about education. So if I wanted to educate a young person so that they could become a really effective innovator, what would that type of education look like? How do we teach innovation? So I think three things really stand out for me when I think about this. First is that education should attune young people to social problems. Because when you think about any innovation that happens, it's because there's a recognized problem in society or how we interact with our systems and institutions that needs to get solved. And any technology is really a social intervention. It could use technology, but it's really about how do we solve a social problem. So education needs to make young people aware of those things and looking for them. I think the second thing is that education for innovators needs to be collaborative. So inherently, we've talked about this, came up a lot, you have to involve your stakeholders, you have to involve the institutions, you have to involve the people who are affected by this problem. And nothing can be done in a vacuum. I can have a really great idea, but great ideas don't translate into effective solutions unless they're collaborative. I would take that one step further and just also highlight that the collaboration does need to include interaction with policymakers. Increasingly, anything that's going to affect a large number of people, it needs to involve the government, it needs to involve elected officials, people who have formal power in the public sector, as well as people of informal power and cultural leaders, but policy does need to be involved. So collaboration with policy, and then attuning to community problems. Third criteria that I would really highlight is that it needs to allow young people ability to take risks and have confidence that they can take risks and that failure is okay. Innovation is inherently coloring outside of the lines, so it involves a little bit of pushing boundaries. It sounds obvious, it sounds redundant when I'm saying this. Innovation is pushing boundaries, and that takes risk, and that takes a confidence that you're gonna have to try that. So I want to offer one model of teaching innovation that I'm most familiar with, and that's the action civics model, which is what Generation Citizen does. So what we do is we run a program in schools. Young people pick a community issue that they want to solve that's really affecting their lives. They analyze that issue to identify what are the policies and local leaders involved, and then they take action to affect change on that issue. So they're in class, writing letters, making calls, reaching out to decision makers, reaching out to community groups to try to create policy change on a local issue. And this attunes young people to community problems. They're middle schoolers, they're thinking about a lot of things, often not community problems. And this is about, how do you think about what's going on and what's affecting you and what's affecting your parents and what's affecting your neighbors and what's affecting people who live in your community. It's collaborative inherently. We ask our students to choose an issue by consensus, so the whole class agrees, and then the class splits up in groups and they all work together to create change on this. And then a big lesson is that they're not just in their class, in their bubble, they're actually reaching out, talking to community members, talking to elected officials, knowing that nothing is going to happen in the classroom, in the vacuum of the classroom. It has to involve larger institutions in the community. And inherently, because what we do is action civics, it also involves policymakers and elected officials. And then thirdly, it's about risk. So we ask young people to approach the scariest possible person, which is somebody elected in power, and ask for something that they want. Once they have that experience, they learn either, yes, we got this passed, or no, we didn't get this passed, but either way, I'm still alive and I'm here. So I invite you all to reflect on, do you think action civics is a model of teaching innovation, and what other models of teaching innovation can you